Live there now. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. And we are live on YouTube now. Just waiting there. So if you are on YouTube and you are tuned in, if you can let us know, if you can see us and hear us okay. Hey everybody, welcome. Tonight is part 2 of Being Woke. I'm glad you tuned in. All right, let's get this going here. Just waiting to see about YouTube here. Once we get those in. Oh, hi, Melissa. Can you hear us and see us okay? Perfect. Okay. So I do just want to welcome everybody here to Roots Revival InterFaith Sunday service. We do this every week. And this week is part 2 of the Being Woke series. Last week we did Being Woke Joyfully. It was a wonderful show. And if you missed it, you can check it out on YouTube. Or you can go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. We have all of our podcasts up there. Unless you have a podcast delivery service of choice, because we'll be there too, so check us out there. But everything's archived, everything's up, so you can always get caught up with us. So we're currently looking good on TikTok, looking good here on YouTube as well. So tonight it is me, Reverend Paul Casey Healing Arts, and Reverend our astrologer, Reverend Christina Del Rey. How are you, Christina?
Great. How are you?
Great. Looking forward to this one tonight. This one is it hits home on a very personal note for me. So I think that, I think it'll be a very healing one for me and many others. This is one that it seems that a lot of people going through an awakening are affected by, the fact that you end up kind of alone. So we'll go through why these changes happen and what to do about it, and hopefully get some planetary aspects of that as well. I think that I don't know if this was in my chat and I just missed it, Christina. I have to check that out. But again, I do want to welcome everybody. This is Roots Revival InterFaith Sunday service. We do these every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and TikTok. And they do go up as a podcast on the following day, Mondays. So anyway you get your podcasts, check us out. We'll be there. Or you could go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. The drop-down menu up top, we have all of them linked up there as well. So you can just one-stop shopping, go there, check us out. For those on YouTube, thank you very much. If you're inclined to donate, there is a button here down at the bottom, so you can donate to the Roots Revival. It's always appreciated. And if you want to start in now with your prayer and healing requests, we do those towards the end of the show. So service rather towards the end. So we will take those at that time, but you can start posting them now so that we're ready. And we also will take questions about what we're talking about, questions, comments. So feel free to post. This is interactive service here. So don't be afraid to chime in. Okay. So last week, Christine, I know you were out of town, but we covered Being Woke Joyfully. And in that one, we were really dealing with, the stigma associated with people who are woke, that they tend to be kind of fuddy-duddies and not that fun, and they're not as happy as everybody else. And, well, the reality of it is it's kind of true, but, that they would suffer from depression, anxiety, and isolation, the last of which is what we're going to focus on today. But the depression, that can be seen because they're people that are woke are no longer, lying to themselves, or they get to see the world for what it really is, and this could lead to anxiety as well. So it's like twofold, like you open up and you can just kind of see more, and along with that, you don't fit in with people you used to fit in with, and this can lead to isolation. Through your growth, you isolate, and that's the focus of today's is being woke alone. How to handle it, what causes it, and we'll get through it that way. Perfect ways around it, ways to deal and not feel alone. So one of the main reasons that this happens is that once you go through your spiritual awakening, you start to think differently. That's really the whole point of it, right? And with that, you don't think like other people that you were friends with anymore. Like you start to think differently. And this tends to anything that was more shallow based, like if you were friends for years, but it was just based on something like, for instance, like just you were drinking buddies, and then you grow out of that and it's like you're hooked. You were linked only because of this, so you start to grow apart for reasons like that.
And I want to point out too that there are a lot of marriages out there that are kind of, that the glue that holds the marriages together can be alcohol sometimes, the same interest, sharing in that. And when one person awakens and they're no longer vibrating on that same level, it does become, a really big issue. And that could be with a spouse or that could be with friends. But it does, like when you become woke, you can't really become unwoke.
Yeah.
So it's even if you decide, okay, well, I'm just going to put spirituality aside and I'm going to do that, you are still in a place where you know that you're not in the right spot. So it does make it interesting. And I don't know how you feel, but ever since I've come into this, I'm kind of a boring person, I guess. But the joy that you do experience comes from deep within. It's not such a surface, oh, I'm dying to get a drink so I can go have some fun, but it's more of like a full body, mind, body, soul kind of joy. And I don't know if you guys discussed that last week. So
yeah, it's like more real and more natural feeling.
Yeah, it's like because you're more aligned now, and because when you awaken, that's ultimately to lead you to your life purpose. Mm-hmm. So you're starting to come in alignment, and those people who are not in alignment anymore are going to vibrate away. So
yeah, and it's funny you say vibrate away. It's like electric football.
Yep, like that's exactly what
game ever. They just got out of your way.
But exactly
so with it, you're not shallow, and I like the way you say you get to see yourself more, and that made I was thinking about that because we say all right, if you were friends from drinking, or like you said with a marriage or relationship, some people, if they met at a bar and they only really know each other that way, once that changes, that's a massive dynamic shift.
It is.
Even internally too is I used to drink a ton. And, one of my favorite pastimes was just being up till 6, 7 in the morning alone on my porch with headphones on and air guitar. And so you're like, when you stop, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? And it's like, you listen to the music and it's like, listen to the same songs. And I'm like, just enjoying them far more because it's like, I can just actually listen to them. There's not.
Yeah. And you're probably more present with them. You're not in an escapist. You know what I mean? Because people are usually with drugs and alcohol, people are usually trying to escape their life during the week so they can, I don't know, the weekends or whatever. They're trying to get to some kind of happy place, but really it's just kind of masking, what's going on. And they're not going above, they're going below with the vibration. So that's why it catches up with you and you start to feel bad, you start to get liver problems or you start to, your body's not handling it well. And then you have all these health problems and it eventually catches up with you because spirit's trying to say, you're lowering your vibration by doing this. You're not making it higher.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and that will fold into too, is you start to, see beyond yourself, if you, when you're saying vibrations and when you can go low, but it still feels like you're high, it's like a sine wave, right? How above as it is below, but you still see, X, and so through that, it's like, well, what if you were to, your wave was +1 or something so that it was higher up so that you weren't crossing under, but you get to see, you can still see everything while you're up and down, and so with that too, you could start to take on other causes that again may distance you from people because say you decided at that point, all right, well, this is really upsetting to me, say, animal rights or racism, anything like sexism, and you want to fight it, for the first time in your life, because it's speaking to you now, and your friends are like, what's wrong with you? Why are you? What got into you? And you're like, well, this is, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like I've been silent for too long, and now it's too, like you said, you can't unclose it or close it rather. But it's like now it's so in your face. It feels like it's like you can't shake it, and you just, like I said, vibrating all around it now.
And it's like, because now you're woken to more aligning with your life purpose. So you're going to get the callings now, and you're not going to ignore them as much, because you're more aware. Whereas other people are still, it's just, everybody has their own time to awaken. It's not to say this person's bad because they haven't awoken, but it's just not their time yet. So they're going to continue living how they lived because it's working for them right now. And know that that's not working for you anymore. And it really does. I remember like listening to John Edwards, reading one of his books, and he was saying, if you decide to go this route, you better be prepared to be, alone. It's lonely. And he was right, but I know you're going to talk more about that, but at first it does seem very isolating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's part of the fear aspect of it too, is, which we'll get into as well. But if you know it's going to be lonesome, you may not do it. But like you'll find other people. It's like it's not going to be that way forever. And I think that's if you can change to even go that way, how can you continue to change to meet people that suit? And that's one of the things we'll talk about in a minute. But it's like the fear involved, where you would just kind of abandon everything because you think you'll never meet other people again, like, oh, I already have friends. I don't need to change because, my friends are the best, But, as we'll find out, that's not always the case.
Exactly.
Which brings us to another point, is that, once you do awaken and you get to see people for who they really are, and it's once you kind of shift yourself, because you can look at what you did wrong or yourself, once you start to do your shadow work, you can look in and, like, not to say judging other people, but you can see where their issues are more clearly than when you were in the thick of it before. How fearful they are, how egotistical, they may be. Chances are very, very much if they're that far gone, shallow, and they don't want to change, which is tough. And that will push you to realize that you're more alone,
and sometimes it's pretty devastating too. I know even just like in 2020 with the whole Trump thing, people were starting to see the voice of others around them, and you might have known this person your whole life, but you didn't know that they felt this certain way, and you're like, how have I been friends with this person and they have felt like that for 20 years? You know what I mean? So when their opinions came out and, they were racist or, against women or whatever, it was like, wow, I really don't vibrate on the same level as this person. We're not like this anymore. You know what I mean? Like the truth can hurt, like that's like, it's tough to see the shadow side of other people. Because, in a way too, this is all about kind of your shadow work too, though. But when you see the shadow side of somebody else, usually there's something inside you that you need to recognize that's similar, and you need to so if you see that somebody's racist, then you need to kind of look inside yourself and say, well, where am I racist? What am I like? Where was I racist? How do I need to fix that? So, we all have prejudice. We all have bias. It's just, it's just human to have that. So when we do see problems with others, we kind of have to look at that because it's being shown to us for a reason. But nonetheless, it's still heartbreaking, though, because you're like, wow, I really thought I knew that person and I don't know them. Or I don't know them anymore, or maybe I was just like that and I don't want to be like that anymore too. So
heartbreaking. That's a great term for it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of, people that you grow up with and that's a good person. And then they post some off the wall thing and, your perception changes,
Yeah. And then like,
do a 180 and you're like, I don't, but I like how you said that it amplifies your shadow work. So maybe it was something you already did and it's like, okay, good, I got through that. Or it's,
Yeah. And
I didn't even do it.
I always try to like review it in my own life. And that, because like anytime we judge people, we're all guilty of it. But I always try to look and say, well, that must be something I'm insecure about, or, was a problem in the past for me. So I try to look at it like from both, perspectives. But it is heartbreaking that you can't just go over to somebody and shake them and be like, wake up, like this is the truth. Because if you've ever tried to do that with somebody, it doesn't go very far. They just don't get it. They're not ready, and you're like, but wait, don't you see that this is like the truth? And this is, and it's just, they're not ready for it. So they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And I think that what we get is mostly the opposite way. Once you start going your way and you're waking up, they're like, well, why are you, they feel the pull away and, and it's, this will be like the second point or third point rather, is that you really can't change them, that you start to, you quickly identify those that are going to support your growth and your journey. Right. And, those things are great. And the ones that aren't going to aren't supportive, aren't going to change. They don't want to hear it. They're like, stubborn. And like, at that point, like if you're flying away and you're vibing high, to hold them, to try to bring them up is just going to keep you down. And that's,
and your lessons now are going to be here and their lessons are still here. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, they're going to be like away from each other. So what happens is they start to vibrate out and then new people start to vibrate in. And it just kind of clears the way for you. But in the meantime, because it's not something that happens immediately, but it's like first they have to vibrate out and then the new vibrate in. And because there's that gap there, it does seem a little bit lonely for a while until you do find that tribe, that we're talking about. And the tribe does come. It's just until they come, that's when the isolation is like the worst. And I know Ivy had mentioned depression and anxiety and isolation in her first, talk about this. And, it's, you do feel the isolation, but I don't know. I mean, like, I think that you have to like just kind of accept what is happening. You can't fight it. You know what I mean? Like if people are going in a different direction, you just kind of have to accept that, or you'll fight against the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have Ms. Charlie on TikTok. She or he is, agreeing here, severely devastating, heartbreaking, and no more veils. And Vincent on YouTube says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And all this too is like not your responsibility either, and that's a lot of it that we don't realize. Because we're kind of, I guess, before we've done any shadow work and stuff, you still want to help and heal. And, before you understand that you can only do it for yourself, you don't want to, you can't waste your energy trying to change someone else.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt on that one. But, it's funny, like when, eventually when the, like in Ivy is saying, for one door to open and another has to shut. And that's so true. And I remember I lost a good friend, somebody who I didn't think that I would ever lose, but, things happened. And, a lot of times when you rise above, you'll get the deception, So this friend vibrated out of my life due to deception and lying. And at the same time, I was just getting back into teaching tarot at Ivy's place. And Ivy had like a small place, not the one that, that you've seen, but the smaller one. And, she, like, we had our first tarot class. This was all going on at the same time. And like, I was being attacked. She probably remembers, but my tires kept my tires kept getting holes in them and they like preventing me from getting there and stuff. It was crazy. It was like fighting the dark. That's a mini class. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it on Ivy's channel. But so when I got there, you know, and I taught the class and I was like really loving the people I was teaching. And I was like, wow, these are like my soul people, you know, like this is like my soul tribe. And like the other one had just left, the other friend, but yet like here were these people. And this is kind of funny and probably embarrass you, Paul, but we were talking about crystals. And I was like, well, I have one in my bra right now. And two of the other girls went like this and pulled crystals out of their bras. And I knew I was in the right spot.
I used to do that until a game of football. Yeah. So I keep them in my underwear now.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, probably not. But I was like, wow, I have found my tribe. So that is true. What you, you know, when one door closes, you know, it's not, doesn't mean that things are, you know, just means that better is coming. So, and I keep in touch with those people even still. So, you know, and of course, Ivy. So, but yeah, you know, it's like sometimes you just don't realize how important it is to have people who, you know, feel the same way and you can talk the same way too. And they will come. You just have to be patient. And I know Ivy's saying stay in your lane mini class playlist as well. So,
yeah. Well, I like that, you know, that's coming up about, you know, how we're saying you can wait, you'll find your people. And it's like with vibrations, you know, if you were an atom or something and you lose an electron because of vibrations, you know, you bond something else, you know, you bond differently. You can do a whole
and that is
thing.
how it works. That's law, you know, and yeah, it's amazing really if you can trust the uncertainty of it, because, you know, like that's one of the ways that you can like kind of counteract the depression, the anxiety, and the isolation is you have to realize that, you know, you're aligning with spirit now. You can't just like be like, oh, what am I going to do next? What am I going to do next? No, now you have to trust, you know, that you're going in the right direction. And it's almost like you have to go minute by minute. You can't really plan that far ahead. You have to accept the present moment. Okay, at the moment, I'm by myself. I'm here, but I know I'm in the right spot because I can feel it. So now let's see what the universe brings next. And until you like accept that present moment and begin to trust, and that's really what I'm working on. That's my own personal journey, and you're surrendering to it. That's when things start to happen for you. So it's actually very exciting if you can embrace it in an exciting way. You know, you can alleviate some of the anxiety by staying in the present moment and just learning to trust and get comfortable with not knowing what's going to happen next and being okay with that.
Yeah, the freedom in it and the flying, because if you awaken, and like I think I was referencing like a balloon earlier, and say you're there trying to fly away, you know, new experiences, you could, you know, if you try to stick with the people who aren't changing or don't want you to change, you'll stay stuck. You know, if you value, I guess, what could be fake friendship, you know, you'll ultimately find out it probably wasn't real to begin with. Over, you know, in comfort, in fear over growing, you know, you get stuck and you won't get anything you want. You miss out on that whole adventure.
Yeah, and that person was there, you know, that person, you were there in their lives to teach them something. They were there to teach you something. It's not wasted energy. It's just, you know, it's just the purpose of life is to grow, you know, and if you stay stagnant, there's, you know what I mean? You can't stay there. Like you have to grow or you die. You can die symbolically, or you can, you know, it's like your growth is done if you're staying in that spot. And that's like a worse death than regular death, because
like
at least you're transitioning. So what's that?
It's like drowning.
Yeah, it's not, life is not, and we have to really kind of embrace that life isn't always supposed to be the same, because this too shall pass is true about bad, and it's true about good too. So that's why like staying in the present moment is really like, so when something good is happening, like, you know, with my children, I try to stay present a lot, because I'm like, I have to take this all in, because they're only going to be this age one time. You know what I mean? Like I have to enjoy it now because this too shall pass. Even though it's a happy thing, it's not going to be there forever. So it's like we just have to sort of embrace these things with slowing down. And, and I think that that's really what COVID was all about, is to slow down and sort of appreciate and notice things around you. Don't be so caught up in other things.
Yeah. And that's it's such a brilliant point too, is just the mindfulness and being present. You can
Yeah.
a lot of why people panic with it is because they're making a million situations happen. They're like, okay, if I stop being friends or I distance myself from this person, like this happens, and it hardly ever does, and it's like, so just be present and
Yeah. And that is really causing anxiety because you're making stuff up in your head,
yeah.
And Melissa, I see Melissa Crane, she says, it seems like it should be so simple, yet it is so hard to just flow and trust. Okay, so Melissa, it's taking me my whole life. So yes, it is so super hard, and I work at it daily. And I have to say, the biggest thing that I do is just meditation, like 20 minutes a day, 10 in the morning, 10 at night. Unfortunately, it is so hard because we're raised to believe that life is supposed to be a certain way and you're supposed to do things in a certain way. We are not taught to trust. We're not taught to trust ourselves. We're not taught to trust spirit. We're not taught to trust the flow. It's almost like you're relearning everything when you become woke. It's like you're learning to walk again.
Yeah, it's like I think we touched on that a little bit last week. Like it's like a whole new set of rules. You get out of this school and you're in this next school.
Yeah, and it's like if I went to China and all of a sudden I was expected to speak the language and I know nothing, and I'm like, okay, what do I do here? I'm lost. Wow. So, and you have to kind of just trust that you're going to be in the right places and you're going to learn the right things. And it also comes with a lot of reflection too, like a lot of, and then, like I'm a type of person like that likes a lot of alone time. So, I do reflect on a lot of things. Sometimes writing helps, for me. So whatever works for you. If you are the type of person that, likes to exercise and you can, kind of zone out, like kind of connect with spirit, stop the mind so much, that helps too. It's just really like, it's going to be your bond with spirit that's going to help you to trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And that gets you through it. Like, for anybody that's like currently going through this with, say, friends or family members that are, they'll often guilt you or, talk about, because if you're distancing yourself, they're like, what happened? They'll make the change seem like it's something bad, and they'll say, well, why did you change? You're different. And you're like, well, heck yeah, I changed in a good way. I'm not different. I'm just, a more refined version. But they'll try to guilt you and they'll try to make it seem like you're doing something wrong. So, just for people out there that are currently going through this, just know that that's going to happen. Okay. And don't, have faith in yourself and have faith in your awakening that, everyone's doing it on their own. And like, much like you can't change them, they shouldn't be changing you. Like for instance, I had, when I came out here, moved out to Buffalo and, my friends were like, oh, you sold all your stuff. Well, it was only some of my stuff. I just sold all my movies. I kept all my music. I have like 85% of my stuff still. And they were like so panicked and they're like, and I had to cut off a family member and, so they're bringing that up. And my friend went so far as to, I have it still because it's like a museum piece. He wrote me this small spaced handwritten 2-page letter about, hey, you did your best. You should come home, and it's like, what do you, like, it was just really creepy, like reaching out, trying to like keep me from growing and, just because I was moving away from him, like from just, this is like the drinking buddy, it was like, and then when I thought about it afterwards, I'm like, is that really all we had?
Yeah.
All the time.
And
like,
that's probably,
it's like, was it just because I was there to, it was comfortable, I was like someone that he could drink with or say weird things with. And it's like, do you, once that changes, it's like his whole life changed, because now he was more alone too, but he was not in the spot where I was to be. Well, I wasn't alone, I mean, but he perceived it as like, he was alone, but he was still stuck in the mud,
Well,
and
that's,
I was the
and
balloon going off.
that forces him to look at himself too, though. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
he's seeing what you're doing, and now it's very difficult to turn and look at yourself. That is not something that we're taught really to do. Like, I mean, maybe some people are, but like when you're very identified with the ego, and the ego takes over, the ego doesn't want to look at itself. The ego wants to blame other people. So when you are not making the same choices anymore, it's like, well, you're messing up my life here. I don't want to look at myself. So I'm just going to blame you, so it's, and that's that, unfortunately, like, it's them not being woke because they don't realize that they have a soul and their soul has a purpose, and he thinks his life purpose is to sit and have drinks, you know what I mean, or whatever. And once you're woke, you just know that that's not what life is about anymore.
No. And unfortunately too, like, there was that crew of friends, it was like they were all saying the same thing, and so now they have each other to like, so that they don't have to look introspective, so they won't go anywhere,
Right.
because they're gonna look, kind of circle and be like, okay, well, we made the right choice here, and whatever. It's and Deb has said here that people don't always like when you put boundaries up, and that's, ain't it the truth, because I like to think of it like boundaries, oftentimes when you put them up, there are mirrors on them, because you put up a boundary and they have to see what it is that, it's not just the sticks. It's the, if we're looking at like the 9 of Wands, right? It's, there's a mirror on there, and you put it up and they see it. And, do they identify? Do they grow? Like, it's probably a tad off topic, but, if Athena in the mirror is Medusa, the different versions of the same self. Do you choose wisdom, or, do you be the snake, and just kind of perilous and turn people to stone? So, do you use it? And they often don't. And that's why the boundaries are worse, because they have to look, they're forced to look inward. They don't like it. And so then they just blame you and blame this wall, blame this boundary.
Yeah, I actually went to, I took my daughters to a self-defense class this morning. We've never been, but, women empowerment. And, so we went and we talked about boundaries there as well, and I thought it was so interesting. The woman there had said, once you set boundaries, if a person has a problem with those boundaries, that's their stuff, not yours. Like, you set that boundary. Now, if they have a problem with it, that's their problem. Yeah. So, that makes sense, because, you just have new boundaries and they don't like it, because the ego, if you're coming from ego, the ego wants control. And once the ego starts feeling out of control, they're going to start doing everything they can to try to get control back. And you're like, no, the boundary is right here. And they're not used to you having boundaries. So it does present a shift in the relationship for sure.
Yeah, their all access pass was pulled, and
and that is really tough, because, like I said, it points the fingers back at them, and they don't want to look at that. So it's hard.
Yeah, it's like, you can think of it, if you see, friends who go in, like, I don't know, it happens all the time in movies, right? But like, someone's just going to friend's business for free, and they're eating all the sandwiches, and then they start charging them, and they're like, what? Like, then you find out they're not going to come to your business anymore because you charged them, and it's like they didn't value it at all. They just valued the free stuff, the free food. Right. And as we would, often talk about energy and, your boundaries there with vampires and things like that. Once you cut off the food source, and you can kind of see that that's really all you were, and it's frustrating. And I can see a lot of people not wanting to go through it because of that. It's tough. It's scary. To think that your friends may not be who you thought they were for all these years. But you know what? If you can come to a realization about yourself, you can come to a realization about them. And, your growth, like you said, your boundaries, everything about you is still you. And that's the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing, like your opinion and your perception of someone, that can
Mm-hmm.
change. I mean, perceptions are only a vision, it's not the truth. It's just
Mm-hmm.
how it's seen. So, if someone can put on a costume for their entire life, it doesn't mean, once you see behind it that, you should change your life because that's not what they are.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're on a new journey now, so you have new things to discover, and it's just going to fall away, where you're just not going to resonate with them anymore, and then you're going to find people that you do resonate with and align with, and this is what usually leads you to your soul's purpose. Because you're never going to get rid of your ego, but once you can align your ego with your soul purpose, and then you can like combine them, then you're going to really start, like, your life is going to take off. And then that'll really be a faint memory for you. And I get it, like, that it would be really scary, but it's like it's you can't really avoid it. It's
yeah,
not really avoidable.
I happen to be, I mean, I'm very fortunate with mine. I mean, while I did have a very, say, lousy turn of events on the friends and family side of things, mine, it happened. I kind of hit my awakening while I was finding my soul tribe. I mean, like, I met Ivy, and and then it was like, okay, so I wasn't ever at that spot alone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was very fortunate there. But you still get all the repercussions, and like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But finding
And
a
it,
tribe. Yeah.
yeah, I would say, like, I guess, like, one of the things that you can do, being the more woke person, um, you distance yourself, because you have to have those boundaries, and then you just wish them well. You wish them positivity, and you wish them, good things, and then you hope that their guides, and you hope that someday they're in alignment with their guides and their purpose and all that. um, and sometimes, like, it takes a really big, um, like, soul crushing experience for them to wake up, and sometimes people don't wake up ever. So it's just how it is. So you wish the best for them, but you kind of have to keep your boundaries up and just kind of stay away, mostly, keep that distance, keep that separation. So
Yeah, I know. With one of my friends, I had said, "Hey, this with the letter." I was like, "This just is not working out for me,
mm-hmm.
at this time." So, but I mean,
Yep.
like, hey, in the future, if he comes around and understands things and apologizes and is an actual real person, that's a whole different kettle of fish. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to happen. But hey, I
Right.
would evaluate it then if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going
Yeah,
to.
so you've kind of surrendered it, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, well, this is how it is, and I can't change him. So, he's not going to change me.
Yep.
So, you know what? I'm just going to give this to spirit. And then if down the line we meet again, and, we can help each other, that's great. If not, then karmic purpose was served, and we're moving on.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's as we acknowledge it, they can change. People, different speeds, different journeys.
That's right.
I don't think it'll happen, but I just left it out there that way. Hey, here's how
Yep.
it's gonna be. So with that too, there is so we're talking about finding a tribe. This is so when you're worried about isolation and going through this alone. Christina said it perfectly. Just wait. Your tribe will vibrate in towards you. So finding a
Mm-hmm.
tribe is a good. Know that you'll find your tribe. It's a
Mm-hmm.
good way to realize that you can get through this. You're not going to always be alone. Um, what you can do is, continue spiritual development, like
Mm-hmm.
find ways to further, where your trajectory is and expand it. Learn more. You can, um, well, tons of classes here. If you guys are currently going through this, Ivy League Psychic Academy, and on Ivy's channel here, Ask Ivy on YouTube, tons of classes that you can learn more about everything that's going on and make it, feel. It seems like the more you know, the less alone you feel, even because you will then all of a sudden feel, oh yes, there are people out there. You can
Mm-hmm.
find them that way. There are you could get therapy if you needed to.
Mhm.
Books, self-help books, anything along those lines. One thing too is we had talked about drinking early too is avoiding escapist tendencies.
Yes.
That would only amplify it really, and could potentially reverse any great awakenings in anything you had. You could go inward again and lose all traction.
Yeah, and once you like if you're doing escapist behaviors, you're still at some point you're going to be sober and you're going to know because you can't unknow once you know.
Yeah.
So, it's almost like you don't want to create that bad karma for yourself either. Um, and I just think YouTube is a great place for channels like Ivy's and astrology, tarot. There's spiritual awakening. There's so much out there now that you can find any community that you want. I see Deborah is asking, can something bad happen, cause you to be woke? And I think Danny said that perfectly. I think she was quoting somebody, I don't remember who, but she said when you break, the light can get in.
Mhm.
And yeah, you sometimes it takes, like a tragedy for people to become woke. And sometimes people don't. Pluto is really kind of like the dark night of the soul planet. And sometimes people get it right by waking up and looking deep within and doing the shadow work. And then other times people get it wrong and blame others and self medicate. So, it can go either way with awakening. It's not a guarantee, that's for sure. But you hope that people wake up.
Yeah, and with that, Destiny has said here, have you found that being woke comes easier as you find more people that align with the same things as you?
Yeah, like one usually leads to the other.
Yeah.
So once you become woke, then all of a sudden, like the universe is going to start putting people in your path that believe in the same thing. And it's so funny because, like, actually, this is like another tribe story too. So I really never planned on being a dance mom, that show Dance Moms and everything. And it was just a huge turnoff to me because I'm not that gossipy person. I don't care about that. And my daughter fell in love with dance and wanted to join the dance team. And I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be like the literal people on Dance Moms. It was horrible. And I started getting to know some of the moms and I have the best dance mom tribe ever. And they're not even like necessarily spiritual people, but they are just good people. You know what I mean? And they accept, what I do, my spirituality stuff, and they're open to it. And they're just like fun and they're like, I can count on them. And these people came in my life. I had no idea and I was terrified. You know what I mean? But now, we spend weekends together traveling and like they are the best people I know. So, you just for somehow people will just start arriving in your life or like you'll meet somebody who all of a sudden, oh, I'm into that too. I really like that too. And you're like, where is everybody coming from? But they are going to vibrate to you. They're gonna feel your energy and they're gonna be magnetized to it. And then all of a sudden, you got all these new people that you didn't really even knew of them, but you're like, wow, like my life is totally changing. So it's really positive, I think.
Yeah, Lara on TikTok had said they find you and you find them, and it's like
It's so true.
the video
Mm-hmm.
you and Ivy did, divine timing, right?
Yes.
So, like if you just wait, don't push, and just do things
Mm-hmm.
at your own speed. Like they're gonna come in when you need them. Like you got your new crew of friends, like probably when you were least expecting it.
Yeah, and Ivy always says like ask your guides for help too. So I've been really trying hard lately to listen to her and do that, and that's been helping me a lot, just talking to my guides, asking for protection, asking for their help. And I guess I always used to forget to do that, you think you're alone, you know what I mean? Like we're kind of taught when we're growing up that we're alone, in the universe. I mean, we have our mom and dad and stuff, but here we're alone, but we're not. We have like spirit guides to help us with this stuff. So why aren't we asking for help? That's what they do.
That's exactly why they're there. We're just like,
Yeah, right. So, and like Ivy's like, well, just ask your guides. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do that, So I started doing that. And now I'm like, oh, it's so much more helpful,
Mhm. And it's great and reassuring, like when you do make that choice or that decision, and it's they back you up and they're like, yeah, that was, oh,
Hmm.
thank you, good, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I
And
like
you get signs too. You can ask them for signs and they'll give you signs, like this was a really cool sign. I do have to share this because it was awesome. I was having a bit of a difficult day the other day. I was driving to work, kind of miserable. And it was that day that it rained like crazy, So I'm like driving, and I was like talking to my spirit guides. And I just turned, and all of a sudden this huge rainbow comes right in front of me. Like beautiful, like the most beautiful colors I ever saw, right on my way to work, smack dab right in front of my car. And I was like, oh, thank you for that sign. I really needed that. You know what I mean? Like it was like my day was better after that.
Yeah.
But when you ask, you will receive. So I highly recommend it.
And it's funny, right? It all just the one sign was
Mm-hmm.
all it took to.
That's right. And I think that Ivy has a class, Meet Your Guides, right?
Meet your guides.
So
Yes.
mm-hmm. And that would
Put that
be
in the comments, yeah. But
if
anybody on
you
TikTok, meet your guides, ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com.
Yeah, because if you don't know them or have a relationship with them, you should really kind of take that class so that you have that dialogue going on.
Okay. That that was if I found it even more enlightening going through and talking about it too. It's like even though you make the right choices, leaving certain things and people behind.
Mm-hmm.
The more you talk about it, and the more you can kind of look at it and see really how much progress you've made. I think is a lot of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that people don't see things as they see it as distance, not really progress. And I think you just got to continue to focus on that you're moving in the right direction. You're not moving like away or distancing yourself from a person or situation. You're moving, towards put the focus on where you're going, not where you've been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't think of it like, oh, I'm 80 miles from home.
Yeah.
Think of it as like I'm 100 miles to my destination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's as long as you feel like you're in alignment, and if I'm out of alignment and I notice like yesterday or this morning when I woke up, I'm like totally not feeling in alignment. So I did feel like I had to meditate for a little while, so I could feel back into alignment. So, go with what that like, that deep voice says inside. Like how can I align myself to my purpose every day? How can I live to my best, every day? So, some days are easier than others, but your guides, ask your guides for help.
Right. It's why they're there. All right. This was great. So we're gonna get into the prayer and healing requests. You set for us to get into that, Christina, or did you have anything else you wanted to?
I don't think I have anything else.
All right. Good. All right. So what we can do here, I'm gonna run through. We had one here from Vanessa. Okay. So we're going to just start the prayers and healing requests. So post them now if you have them. We'll get to them. And if not, you can always post them in the comments here on YouTube, and we'll get to them during the week. We have midweek prayer and healing service coming up on Thursday, 9 p.m. So you can post them there, and we can address them there as well. And you can join us at Thursday. So this one is from Vanessa, who's looking for prayers and healing for her dad, Alan. I'm going to lift that one up for Alan, Vanessa, and family. Healing for Alan, and we'll claim that healing. And we send that over to Alan, Vanessa, and family. There's another one down here from Ivy, who's looking for prayer and healing for her own family's awakening. So, yes, let's lift that one up. Ivy's family come to their own awakening and realizations. Let's claim that. Send that healing that way. Awakening. Okay. One from Melissa. looking for prayer and healing for her friend's mother, Linda, as well as for her friend and the rest of the family. Yes, let's lift this one up from Melissa's friend, family, mom, Linda. They get the healing they require. Claim that one. Okay. This one is from Lara. Healing and prayers for Sharon and Phyllis, and for her family to understand her awakening. Yes, this is big. Let's lift that one up for Lara, Phyllis, Sharon, and the families to understand. Claim that. Okay. And also I'll add to that, want to add clarity for people who are on the fence in situations such as this, to realize that their choice is important and that their life is important, and friendships can be come and go. They can find someone new. Their life is not their friendship. Their life is their life. So I want to lift that up for people. Claim that. Come to those realizations. And this is for Travis. Looking for healing and prayers so that he can grow as a person. Travis, raise that one up for you. Claim you that healing so that you can grow as a person, see what you need to do in order to grow and to be happy. Claim that for Travis. All right. We have a prayer. The name got cut off, but for removal of negative thoughts. Protect me from negative thoughts. This one's on TikTok. So I don't have the name, but know this one's coming your way. But you can have this clarity, positivity. Let's claim this for you. We'll send it your way. Remove those negative thoughts. Okay. Christina, do you have anything to add?
I always want to say a blessing for the inmates, especially inmates who are there, in jail and are not, are falsely accused. So I just want to say, a prayer for them that they are woke and will be comforted by that.
One more just came in here for Deb, who also was looking for prayers to remove negative thoughts. So Deb, may you get the clarity and focus that you need to remain positive and head in positive directions. Let's claim that for Deb. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you came in late, this will be up on YouTube, and will also be a podcast available tomorrow, wherever you get your podcasts, or ivriveraPsychicMedium.com. They're all up on there. And if you enjoyed tonight and want to revisit it again, check it out. And part 1 is also up. So this was part 2. So if you missed part 1 last week, you can check that out on YouTube or podcasts, the same places, everywhere you get them. Thank you, everyone, again for tuning in. Christina, thank you so much. This was great fun. Very enlightening, too.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
awesome job.
We are taking Easter Sunday off. So we won't be here next week. But we will be doing a midweek prayer service on Thursday of this week. So you can tune in then, and we will see you Thursday. But until then, everybody have an awesome week, and Roots Revival.
All right. Awesome.